All right, good evening, guys. Count Tortoise Capital Nightly Strategy Podcast for January 23rd, 2024. Start with the hybrid swing portfolio, 30-minute charts. And this is Alcoa. This is the one-day look back, the yellow box. The blue box is the 5 days. That's the 5-day high and low, etc. So Alcoa, yesterday we had the PSAR, actually 2 days ago, PSAR flip entry, which closed here. It maintained reasonable posture here. We had +3 in hand. Today, it gapped up to here, which gave us 2, 3, almost an additional +5R right at the open. And it ran up another 4R to here. And then as that rolled over, it took a 1, 2, 3 exit just as it crossed the VWAP. So that was total of about +9. And then the rest of the day, it just stayed inside this tight range. So pretty good 3-day trade in Alcoa. Should probably take a picture of that. AI, also an entry 2 days ago on the PSAR flip and a COTA 2. This was the second time that we had a strong gap up to 27. And yesterday it sold off hard. Today, when it sold off hard and crossed the VWAP and hit the skin of the dragon, I cashed it for 2, 3, 4, for about 6R. It didn't fail any further the rest of the day. It actually looks like it may want to make some more gains tomorrow. Caterpillar tried a emerging dragon continuation pattern to the upside. It ran up for about 30 minutes, then ran down, and I scratched as the rest of the market was starting to get weak as well. It held up pretty well the rest of the day, except in that last half hour, it closed near the low, and it's on the Bollinger Band main. So that actually sets up a market neutral, direction neutral trade that can break in either direction, and we will follow the price on that one tomorrow. No directional bias, whatever. Cliff, this is one that 2 days ago we had the 1, 2, 3 entry. It closed well. Yesterday it closed very well. Today it gapped up, then ran all the way up to 1880. And then as it started to sell off, I took this exit here at 1860. I thought hard about shorting here as it crossed the VWAP and the R10 was rolling over. I elected not to, and then missed that move to the downside. But that's a pretty good trade. That's about 3R in a couple days. I like that one. CVS, we got a COTA 2 continuation here. After 2 days of watching it fail and to slowly grind higher, I speculated in, and it just kind of cruised along and gave us an R in hand and closed near the high of the day. And what's nice about this one, and the reason to hold it, is that the closure here is well above this gap. This is the gap that it experienced. And so that whole space right in here there's no resistance whatsoever. This is a vacuum. So the fact that it closed at the high of the day says there's no resistance until it gets back to about 77.50. So the reason to hold this was the belief that it could make that move, including a gap tomorrow with no selling pressure. So we like that one. DIA. We took the continuation short at the open. After the overnight hold gap down and we took a half an hour loss. That one So to this way, and we covered, and then I went long there. So there's a few things going on inside that trade. So this is about a micro gain in hand, and we'll see what diamonds give us tomorrow. I'm betting on the strength in the U.S. market. This one was a nice exit this morning when it gapped up, peaked, and then started selling off. That felt like it was enough in Disney on a two position 12-hour trade. I was slow to get into it on the short side. I waited till it crossed the Bollinger Band mean with the standard risk on. It never really failed much, so we ended up scratching really a micro gain out of that. Devon Energy, no trade. Emerging market, bought the gap and go, and it returned about an R after grinding sideways most of the day. It closed with a little bit of a run at the end, but I don't like holding that one overnight. So we just took our R and went home. ATHE, big gap off and sell off, held support, bought it when it crossed the VWAP, touching the skin of the dragon, and then it gave us a fractional win. There was no real follow through. Mexico, we got a 1-2-3 entry here, crossing of the dragon, the R10's rolling up, and ended up giving us a cushion of about 2R and a nice continuation trade for tomorrow. So I'm holding that one overnight. Brazil, basically the same trade, only this time it gapped up and then crossed the Bollinger Band mean. I liked all of that. Rising Dragon, speculated in, holding about 3R into the close. It's going to test this important resistance level right here tomorrow. So this is going to either work right away or it's going to start selling, and I'm going to make a rapid decision either to add a position or to exit this trade. And we've got about 3R in hand as a cushion to protect us against a negative gap. Intel, this one gave a bit of a sell-off and then a 1-2-3 entry. It crossed a rising Bollinger Band mean. The VWAP was rising. The R10 reversed and was rising. So 1-2-3 entry, standard risk, and it closed very well with about 3R in hand, and it closed above the previous peak of the R10. So this one is actually a tech leader that has a real good chance to keep going tomorrow. And I like that we have about 3R in hand as a cushion. And again, this should work right away tomorrow, but if it starts to fail, I'm looking to cash. So it earned the right of a second look. IP, gap and go, it ran all the way up to 37 and then started to collapse, and I scratched out of it, and then it went sideways all day. Real estate, continuation, caught a 2 to the downside in the usual way, 1R. Coca-Cola, PSAR flip, rising dragon, rising VWAP. So standard entry at the PSAR flip, standard risk, and cashed a half an R on the failure to follow through. Regional banks, we closed this nice entry from 2 days ago. This was an emerging dragon with standard risk. It closed well on day 1. Day 2, it closed well. Day 3, it gapped up, sold off, or gapped up and started to run, then started selling off. And I exited in the middle of the dragon. And on 1 unit of risk, that earned about 6R. And that's pretty good. It closed pretty well. So I could see this one as a breakout in either direction tomorrow based on what the market wants to do. McDonald's, standard COTA 2 entry on the PSAR flip with a very tight risk, and it paid off. That last half hour was a vote to the upside. So I decided to hold it with 2R in hand. It's testing this resistance level. So this should work right away tomorrow, or I'm looking to exit if it starts to fail. Merck was a huge gap sell off. So it closed here, gapped down to here, sold off all the way to here, reversed and started zooming right back up. When it got higher than the open, I just speculated into it with a risk box and betting on a return to the gap, fading the gap. And all it did was run straight up to here. And I'm going to hold that one overnight because of the rejection of the short side trade. That was 5R. And it cleared the previous peak of the RL10. So I'm liking that one a lot. Morning hook. What alerts us to this one? This was one of the worst adverse gaps. Huge sell off, big negative gap. So I can put a bracket on that thing, and when it reverses, I can play the long side. And then it was a big follow through. Microsoft standard Kata 2 re-entry after a couple days of letting it lie fallow. It broke the downside PSAR, so speculated in standard risk to the PSAR flip, and it closed pretty well with 2R in hand. That was Microsoft. Marijuana, no trade. Nike, no trade. I missed the morning hook. NVIDIA closed out the 2-position long for about 12R. Once it cracked below the PSAR, it did not follow through. So at the first sign of weakness, I just cash it. Gave it a chance and elected not to go. No trade in clean energy. Rivian, this was a gap up and it was a gap up to here, ran all the way to the top, fell back down through the VWAP. So I speculated it in short. The thing rolled down to the Bollinger Band mean, started to recover, took the exit at the skin of the dragon for about 0.5R. SPY was just sideways quiet channel and then finished the day with a micro portion of buying interest. Treasuries sold off and then held support north of 93.50 and then closed at 95 or 93.90. Tesla was weak all day. When that rolled over and passed through the Bollinger Band mean, I take that entry right there when it crossed the Bollinger Band mean, standard risk. And then the exit when the R10 reverses and comes back up into the dragon, take that for about a third of an R. Walmart speculated in on the crossing of the Bollinger Band mean with a rising dragon, a rising VWAP, a rising PSAR. We're holding about 1R, and then this is going to be an important resistance test tomorrow. So this, if it's going to work, it should work right away and go back to the 10-day and 30-day high, which means another R to the upside. And then we'll see. If it starts to weaken tomorrow, I'm out. So we're paying to see cards. US Steel. So that had a nice 3-day run last week, as nice as you want, a very orderly reversal and higher today. So we closed on the first sign of weakness. This was supposed to keep going. It didn't. So I exited here before it could cross the Bollinger Band mean. But then it held and reversed. When it came up and hit the PSAR flip, I put it back on, standard risk. And I didn't like this last little bit of failure right here, so I just decided to cash it and cash 2R on that trade. And then raise some cash for tomorrow. All right, let's look at the sniper trades of the day. These are all 3-minute charts. Here's the opening. So this is your OR3. This is a breakout of the OR3 to the upside. That's your standard risk. That's a quick fail for about 0.2. That is a collapsing dragon off of the RL10 about 90 minutes into the day. So this failure and the fact that this is turning to winter and the PSAR is voting downward and the dragon and the VWAP are both voting down, I'm short with a standard risk box like that. Check or hold. What I'm looking for is a breakdown below this support level. If that fails through here, then it should really fail. And it does. And then I take a standard exit and an SSC reentry. Check or hold. First sign of joy. Then it gives two bursts of really strong energy. This one broke above the VWAP. It came back and held above the VWAP and then resumed. This time that number was too good. Now I'm holding 4R in hand right there, so I cashed 4R. And then ignored it the rest of it. It was too irregular, too crazy. This was a great big gap up, ran all the way to the top, ran all the way down to here and closed, then continued to fail. So there's my OR3, and now I'm short, looking to get back to the Bollinger Band mean and yesterday's VWAP. So that's target 1 and target 2. It came most of the way down and then rapidly reversed up, and I ended up just scratching. I probably was slow to exit. Could have done better with a no lose plus dinner for 2 on that one. So now it in that same bar, it runs all the way up, and it reverses with a full wrist box. So I stop and reverse up there. It grinds along. I cash it when it comes back to the edge of the dragon for about an R. It rolls over when it breaks through the VWAP after the PSAR flip. Dragon has rolled over. This is an owl entry. There's the Bollinger Band mean. If it gets through the Bollinger Band mean, I feel pretty good about this. And then the bottom just collapses out of it. It runs all the way back to the previous day's VWAP, holds, comes back and hits the dragon. So I exit for about 3R. Check or hold. The Sada 2 to the short side reentry on a continued fail gets a fraction. Try the SSC. This is sort of a delayed SSC, I suppose. Maybe it's a COTA 2 because here's the RL10 and it resumes. PSAR flips here, but because of the power of that move, I wasn't in a hurry. to get long here, although it would have been okay. Aiming for the VWAP and then the high of the day. Um, I waited for the Bollinger Band mean to come down and then this crossed the Bollinger Band mean. So I took that one long with that as my risk. Gets back to the VWAP, finally grinds north, gives a little bit of a run, and I end up exiting that. Should show as an exit here before the end of the day. So, and that one returns about 2. So that was a total of about 1 plus 3 plus 2. So about 6R. Here's Cliff. So this one closed here, gapped up to here, created the OR3. It reversed higher and went. So I go long from here. Returns an R after it rolls over. Caught a 2 reentry, scratches. When it crosses the Bollinger Band mean, I get short, standard risk for an R after it reverses and touches the skin of the dragon. Caught a 2 reentry, traction, and missed the downward slide the entire rest of the day. So the Kata 2 reentry is the key on that one. This is a situation trade here in CVS. Here was the opening. I was just observing it. It established this as the range. It gives me a double bottom here, higher than this one. So this feels like a Kata 2, and it's crossing the Bollinger Band mean and threatening to cross the VWAP, and the PSAR is flipping. And the MACD histogram was in the winter and it was outside of the Red River, and now it's reversing up into spring. So this feels like potential to the upside. And if worst comes to worst, I wouldn't mind if it just came up and tested like it did here and then rolled over. I don't mind if it does this and then rolls over. I'll take that trade because my risk is small. Grinding, finally gets traction. Continues higher. And then near the end of the day, when it crosses through, I go ahead and exit for about 3R. That was a grinder. And then it continued on after that. After it ticked me out here, it went on for another more, but it was not in the mood to chase. This is Diamonds, DIA, closed here, gaps down to here, runs up, runs down, closes here, continues to fail. So I'm short. And then this is the OR, or this is the R10 play. And it reverses. And so I just take the exit at the skin of the dragon for a fraction. I try the PSAR flip. It fails for half an R. So I stop and reverse at the PSAR flip. I get an R back. I caught a 2 back in, get a half an R. And I think, yeah, I waited an hour for this to sort out. It gave me a Kata 2, approaching the VWAP, so I'm betting this way now. get an R, and that was really about it. So the diamonds were just kind of grinding for about 2R today. Finally, Devon Energy. This was a situation trade. I played it as a caught at 2. It had a huge run up consolidation, rolled over, held support with the R10 north of the VWAP. So I buy it long, standard risk. Here's the rising Bollinger Band mean. Gives me a fraction, starts collapsing and crosses the VWAP, so I get short, smashes down for 2R, caught a 2 reentry short, scratch, missed the reentry. So we left some on the table with that one. Traders, let's see. Ahmad gets caught in the grind here a couple times. Could not get on the right side of this trade. Finally did here. He got ticked out. That will happen sometimes. So fractional loss. I like the short. Let me show you where I like the short on this one. When this goes like, whoops, let me get yellow here. When I have this move, and this one does not follow through, but fails, and then this thing goes a second, this little run up could not break above this. Instead, it rolls over and it crosses the Bollinger Band mean. That's where I like to be short. And then you get this move, and as this starts reversing, all you got to do is exit before this thing crosses the yellow line, and you'll be in the money. Then when that rolls over again, now notice what you have. You have, look at the humps of the RL10. Maybe make this a brighter color so you can see it. Lower highs. You could get short here or here because that's also a lower high. Either one of those two gets you into that whole trade for 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've got to be noticing the RL10. So make the RL10 brighter than the price bars because you really want to be able to see that. The only problem I have with the dark background is it makes it harder for me to see those. It's easier on the eyes, but it's harder for me to see the R10s. Reasonable effort on AMD. It's been huge for 3 days. Today was a day it didn't follow through. Worth a shot. All your 30-minute entries are trying to get in early. I appreciate that. But there's also a follow through the other direction. This is late entry. Here we got your PSAR flip is back here. That second leg down, I mean, I like that as the collapsing dragon, but I would be long here. If that's leg one and then this does not follow through but does this, I would automatically be that. Same thing here. This needs to be a stop and reverse simply because this didn't fail further. Same thing here. PSAR flip, big run up, and now you're chasing it and then not taking the short. So I feel like we're being very reactive. Same thing here. We're not taking the PSAR flip. We're waiting for the collapsing dragon. That's still a good trade worth taking, but then if it doesn't work, that's evidence in the favor of taking that trade. Same thing. Same thing. Same thing. There's a trend here. And burning all your bullets early, and then we're not taking the COTA twos below the PSAR. Um, those are good trades right there. Except, the 1R loss on this, if that's your entry, a violation of this is your 1R. So we're taking about a 0.2 loss. And remember, from a position sizing, that's a 0.2 loss. So I feel like that stop never got hit all day. So the actual trade should be this one position instead of -3 because of a lot of chops. And we should be making money on that trade. All right, this is AMD, 1.6 from Satya. Opens, sells off hard, reverses. There's your OR3 entry, standard risk, cashes. Get short when it crosses the VWAP, scratches, long. I felt like that one might have been a bar late. We maybe could exit here, but that's still pretty good. That's a good scratch, then a good pause. It holds at the VWAP. That is significant. And now what you have is look at your R10s, the R10 turning points. And then this is pretty close to that VWAP split. That gets paid. This is a good collapsing dragon and a great scratch. So 1.6, that's pretty good work. All the way through here, that was really good work the whole day. Alcoa, nets scratch because of all the this was a reasonable effort. I love the stop and reverse. This is where I might make a money management and a psychology exit for you. So you got the OR3 and this thing rolled down. So you got short and then it caught you for 1R. And then you got long here. And now if your box is right here, right? And this ran all the way up to here, at some point you had 2R in hand and then you let it come back below the VWAP for a 0.6 win. So now you're at minus 0.4, whereas at the peak of this, you were +1. I don't like being up +1 for the day and then going negative on that. I might have just, cashed it so I could be neutral. I do like the way you picked it up right here on the rollover. I now have a lower high and a collapsing dragon and crossing the VWAP. That's a great short. I think you should be out here instead of here. And then you stayed out of the chop, except for that last little shot. So I think overall pretty good. This is only about a 0.5 improvement if you treat that a little more carefully. George, you're shooting all your bullets in the first half hour. This one on the 30 minutes, if I'm here and it goes up this much and it comes back, I probably scratch and try short when it crosses the VWAP, and then you get this trade. You're shooting all your bullets early. This is a 3-minute on KRE. Let's see what we got here. So this one was short. Then you took a 0.6, then you got long. Uh, if you notice that actually didn't take out the PSAR on the upside, so you're front running that just to be clear. Then you take another 0.9 and you get short here and take it. So now you're down 2.5 in the first 20 minutes on a low volume ETF. And now you're out of bullets. And then the longer this thing stays below that, there's your short, there's your short, and that one pays for the whole day. That re-entry here is a nice cotta too. I like that one. I like the exit. I probably would have tried this one and scratched, and then I'd have been burned out and missed both of those two. Try waiting an hour on the narrow ETF. See what that does for you. Or at least save some bullets for 60 minutes in. Same thing here. You take your shot and then you are not hitting it as it makes a new low of the day. And the VWAP is down. The river is down. It rejected this buying pressure. So my belief is that by this time of the day, you have a clear indication that everything is down. The Bollinger Band mean is down. The VWAP is down. It broke below yesterday's trading close. It broke below yesterday's VWAP. So by this time of day, I have certainty that the direction is down. And then it's down for 2 hours. So we got to have some bullets left to be able to take those shots. Talked about that yesterday. I like that one. I like the second entry. I love cutting it short quick. I would love to see this re-entry. This is a cotta 2 above the Bollinger Band mean. So this little recovery here, it went from winter to spring. It's above the Bollinger Band mean. It reverses the PSAR. It's above the VWAP. And as you can see, you're getting this little move into the summer. So somewhere in here, we got to get that cotta 2. And then instead of scratching, we get paid. I like this re-entry. When it crosses the VWAP, or I'm sorry, crosses the PSAR and the Bollinger Band mean, I'm sure I no longer am long and I'm probably short right there. I like this one. I love the exit. Yeah, a lot of work going on in here. So it gets like the 1, 2, 3 and an OR3 entry. Exits for a fractional win. Re-enters the emerging dragon. We got to get out here instead of here. And then that's a great short. Great second position. Well, this was half, and that's half. Great exit on a 1-2 exit. As long as you get to the zero state here, I would frame this one as a get ready to go long or short. In this case, it voted north. You got paid a little bit, didn't lose much, got back in, and you kind of reset, and you got the long trade, and you were probably burned out by then. So finishing up 3 for the day, that's a lot of work. Well done. And already got that one. Boeing. Let's see. I like that. You're trying to front run the crossing of the Bollinger Band mean. It fails, so you get out at the PSAR, slip reversal. You're basically trading inside the dragon here. The first real move was this one. which was actually a move. But it's so close to the end of the day that I don't mind that. On the 30-minute bars, one of the things that you can look for is it makes a high, makes a lower high, and when it crosses the Bollinger Band main, if you were on the 3-minute chart, you'd see that as a tradable. That's a 30-minute move, and that turned out to be a tradable move from 215 down to 212.50. That's $2.50 of a move. It looks just like sideways chop because you've got all this unused space in your chart, but that's almost like a kata two. Great work, great second position, way to cut it. 1, 2, 3 re-entry. We got paid for 2.5R. That's good stuff. And then 3R didn't stay wrong long. And I like the second position. When it confirms by crossing through the PSAR, that's good. That's good work right there. Right. Daily trades or trading report. Pushed to a new all-time high again today. It's getting up into nosebleed territory on the 30-minute. Notice that nice buying pressure at the end. That's guys willing to hold it overnight. Wouldn't be surprised to see a gap up tomorrow. Bullish normal, strongly overbought. Who's left to buy though? That's what I wonder. So that's why we're seeing some smaller ranges. The volatility is low, which favors the long side. But when we're at nosebleed levels like this, there's a lot of gains that people are trying to protect. On the other hand, all we've done really is recover from the um, early sell-off in January, right? So this was the end of the year, and January started with this downward move and some chop. And so we've had a couple 3 days of gains and then a small range. So this is a question mark. Is there more legs in this or is it going to retrace? So tomorrow, I think, is a really important day. And so you should be very well paired with an alert to the downside at 483 and at 485, ready to play that in either direction. That will be decisive. Um, 6-month highs in Merck and Verizon, 3-month high in Procter, a handful of good auto framers still in play. But tech was not the leader today. Tech stood on the sideline. In the ETFs, upside to the SPY all-time high. And otherwise, it was kind of a quiet consolidation day. Still quite a few symbols that have favorable reward to risk. Here's your auto framer with framing data with a lot of things to choose from that are attractive, like Brazil, Mexico, emerging markets. They're still playing catch up. A lot of squeezes on the small range of today, including diamonds. I'm ready for that, and SPY. When the S&P and the Dow are both tightly compressed like that, you've got to be ready for surprise big moves out of the compression. Still got a lot of ETFs in the winter, but the US large caps are looking a little better now with more in the summer. And the ones that are really, I think, the emerging leaders here, Walmart, Microsoft, Travelers continues to be good, Procter. And then here it's tech, but especially S&P tech. with X. Okay. Um, Tail of the tape, a lot of short-term breakouts, but also some short-term collapses. So this is the haves and the have-nots as we're at all-time highs. So that's why tomorrow will be an interesting tactical day. Let me hit the frog list. Marijuana, Tesla, clean energy, Intel, Boeing, Devon, metals and mining, NVIDIA and Texas Instruments and the semis. Apple's creeping up the stack here with consistency. And let's see, that's everything I think we want to cover. Yeah. This is starting to look a little promising right here. It's trying to leave this behind. And the RL10 reversed, the Z-score reversed at -1 sigma and is now pushing the bounds of the upper one. So that's why tomorrow is going to be a test. Does it start going into exceptional gains or does it revert? So that's why tomorrow is going to be very important. The 90 wants to go up. The longer term trend is positive. The 30 is trying to decide if it's going to reverse higher. So that's why tomorrow is going to be a really interesting and an important day. And we need to see the tech leaders really lead the way tomorrow. All right. That's everything for tonight. Take good care, fellas. We'll see you tomorrow.